Hello, Avram. I don't have any audio from you. Let me see if that's my fault. No, it's turned on.
How about now?
Now I hear you.
I think I can talk into the headphones.
Whoa!
Okay.
That was an interesting noise. Sounded like you made an error noise.
Yeah.
I think. There we go. All right. Hello, friend.
Hey. Hey. So, um, I would love to talk about the um, the story that I put up today about self-destruct keys on your computer.
I saw that in my feed, but uh, all of your feeds just say the brand name and staff. So I
Oh,
didn't see.
really?
So I didn't see who wrote it. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
uh, I saw that and I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting."
Yeah. So we can talk about that. The things that keyboard combinations that you can hit by accident that wreak havoc on your user experience. So,
Yeah, that sounds like a good one because I don't know how many of them I might know of. So totally
yeah.
on board. All right, interesting. My monitor calibration's all weird. I have two identical monitors, theoretically
Uh-huh.
calibrated the same, and my white balance on my face is different on both of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's always theoretical that they're the same, right?
Indeed, indeed. I don't know that I've ever actually had two monitors, no matter how hard I try, that are actually calibrated the same.
Because I have two identical monitors on top of each other, and the color scheme is a little different on them, and I've tried calibrating them. So I don't know.
Yeah. I This will be fun for those of you watching live because this won't make it to the cut show. Um, I saw a video from no, a picture on Facebook from our return from CES 2011, I think, where we brought the monitor that's behind this one that used to be the primary in the studio for years and years. And it's
Yeah.
where the corner got cracked. Um, like not the panel, but the body. And it's still taped the same way it was that we fixed it like that day. We took the picture for TSA, and then we put packing tape on it, and that packing tape, 14 years later, is still on it. Oh, pretty funny. Funny that it's still here in the studio. It's it's one of the last remaining items from let's just say a bygone era. I think you know what I mean.
yes.
Ah,
Yes, indeed.
hard to believe that that was 9 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're about to hit 18 years of this show this month. T- Tonight. Uh oh.
Oh.
I should probably know that. If it's if this is the anniversary show, I feel like I should
Oh.
know. All right, let's see. Um, nope. Is it this month? Nope, not 23. just two. Uh, oh no, 2 months. It's June. I was thinking
Okay.
I was thinking it was April because I was thinking it was before Mother's Day, but now I realize that it wasn't. It was just before Father's Day. Okay. So, June
Aha.
10th. June 10th is the first actual show that worked. We we fought for an hour and a half with technology to get the first episode to work, and it didn't. We just went, you know what? Screw it. We're done. Out. Bad over. We're done.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So we're
Yeah,
coming up on 18
indeed.
years, but it has been.
Yikes.
I think this month though, I think is 9 years since that. 9 years since you and I have hosted this show, just the two of us. Let's say that.
Ah.
Isn't
Very
that
cool.
crazy?
Very cool. Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it's been that long,
S
does it?
Oh. And 7 years this month. I've been with Tom's Hardware. But,
Yeah, I remember that change.
yes. Well,
Lots
yeah.
of lots of things happening. Big anniversaries all right around now.
Yep.
I got my 2 year wedding anniversary next month.
Wow. Two
I
years
know.
already.
Isn't that crazy? Ah, time is moving uncomfortably fast. I don't like it. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. I've got everything in place. I'm good if you are. Did you see everything? Okay,
Yes.
excellent. All right. I've hit record, so let's do this. This week, we delve into the Windows 11 recall feature, gaming price trends, internet cable vulnerabilities, and the legal levy on streaming services. It's Sunday, April 13th, 2025, and this is episode 674 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're joining us, whether it be on social media, Facebook, X, or Instagram, through our live streaming services, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, LinkedIn, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free episodes of F5 Live and Piltch Point, plus interviews as they're edited, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9:30 p.m. You can go to Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you're unable to join us live, that is okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. And just a note on that PLUGHITZ Live Presents feed, we're going to be switching gears from CES over to Synapse Summit. We've got some great interviews with some startups and really interesting companies. A savory energy bar, which I legitimately thought their banner was printed wrong. And those interviews were actually conducted in large part by some teenagers from the Junior ROTC and Amrock Fab Lab. So that stuff's going to start going up soon. Definitely check it out. A lot of interesting stuff that we got to see at Synapse this year. But, Avram, how are you?
Not bad. Not bad. Uh, lots of lots of stuff going on. Lots of stress at work. We got a lot. We got a lot of big stories. Obviously, uh, lots of new product coming out. Uh, lots of controversy about the cost of electronics
Yep.
and how that might go up. And always time for some of the small stories as well, like we'll talk about tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. I was telling you before the show, I saw it come across the feed and didn't have a chance to read it. So definitely looking forward to getting to not just play the dummy and not know what we're talking about, but legitimately not know what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it kind of the same over here. It's been a little stressful over here. Um trying to get things. We're still it's 6 months out. We're still dealing with post hurricane stuff. So, but the good news is that things are moving. Things are moving. For those of you who have been following this weird journey, my entire family has been out of their house for 6 months. They were living here for a while, which is why we didn't have a show for so long. And then we've got new cabinets coming, new floors coming, the ceilings are getting fixed, the walls are getting fixed, we've got stuff moving. Dumpster comes on Tuesday. Very, very excited, but whoa, it's been stressful over here, buddy. I can't. Whew. But we're hoping to have them back in their house by the end of the year.
That would be great.
Yeah. I know, I think you had at least a short opportunity. Did you get to talk? Yeah, you got to talk to Mom this year about what was going on, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit.
Some wild stuff, but life's starting to return to normal, which is good because all around us in other ways, things are getting weird. And we're going to talk about
Yes.
some of that tonight and some of it not. But yes, weird stuff coming. AI is coming for us. Privacy seems to be going away. We'll talk about all of that. So let's get down to it. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. All right. It's been almost a year since it was announced, and people freaked out. It went away, and now it's coming back. Windows Recall is rolling out to insiders now to about the response that I think we all expected, which is not great. Lots of people are looking at it with concerns. Some are concerned about the storage that constant screenshots are going to take up on a computer that may not have a ton of storage. That is the least of the problems when you take into consideration things like the fact that it's going to be constantly taking contextual screenshots of your screen so it can, learn and remember the things that you did in the past to help you do things in the future and recover information that maybe your brain forgot. I don't. We talked about it a while ago, Avram. I'm going to say it again. Conceptually, I like the outcome, but I don't like the thing.
So, I don't know if this is when we were on hiatus, but I did a story back in, I think it was November, about uh, about recall, and I tested recall had come back to insiders then as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I tested its ability to. It's supposed to not take screenshots of like your critical information. So it's supposed to know when you're on a bank web page or when you're doing something with your social security number or
Passwords, credit card numbers.
information, passwords, credit cards, the the, the important stuff, right? It's supposed to not take screenshots of that. And I tested its ability to not take screenshots of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that if you are on a website that is blatantly like a bank website, it will not take a screen. It will not take a screenshot.
Okay.
Uh, but you could go into Notepad and type my social security number is, this, and or my password is that, or my bank account number is X, and it will still take a shot of that, right?
Okay.
Um, and you can go into things like PDFs where it asks for your social, like maybe you're filling out a PDF because you
Tax
have an
returns.
application for something, right? And it asks for your social security number. It's not smart enough to say like, oh, there's a field here that says social security number. Let me block this, right?
Gotcha.
Or at least it wasn't when I tested it. So so it worked on some blatant stuff where it wouldn't take the screenshots, but on a lot of other stuff, it would take the screenshots. So it seems like they almost kind of were like, oh, if you're a Bank of America person and you're on the Bank of America website, we know that's a bank. So I guess we shouldn't do this. But like, I don't know if they just hard coded a list of like websites and that are
Sure.
you know privacy you know blocked or what. So in other words, I wouldn't trust it to not
Yeah.
take screenshots of your important data. And really, maybe what we're asking of recall is too much, right? Because I mean, you critical data could be in any application at
Mm-hmm.
any time.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying that like you should do this, but you know, what if what if someone IM'd you a password in Slack or something? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of opportunities for things to be captured.
Yeah.
So uh, so yeah, it's going to capture your critical data. It's that's going to be there, and then it's going to be accessible to um, if somebody gets it now. They seem to have encrypted the files. I'll give them that. Um, if somebody gets onto your computer though, and they can get access,
Mm-hmm.
remote desktop access to your computer, either through remote or sitting right in front of your computer, this data will be all sitting there for them,
Yeah.
right? It's like a identity thieves. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
like if someone breaks into your house and you leave the jewelry like right in front of the door in a big gold box that says
Yeah.
jewelry here, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not even going to make it hard for them to find.
Right.
Um, so I, I don't trust it. I don't. I think. I don't. I think the concept is fatally flawed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think like the the end result idea is theoretically fine, but I can't imagine a scenario where getting to it is safe. That
You
like for
know,
me that's the thing. I can't imagine a scenario in which you could build something to allow this cool capability of being able to rewind and find information you might have lost without that information having to exist somewhere outside of your brain, which then makes it a treasure trove for the hi, this is uh, Raul with Microsoft technical support. I need you to install TeamViewer on your computer, right? It
right?
it's like a treasure trove of chaos for you and data for them, especially
It
since it
also,
struggles to well, in the past it struggled to block out that sensitive data. Now they have said that they've kind of rewritten the the system that detects when it should redact information. Now again, does that mean it works? No. Uh, just means they rewrote it. You can rewrite it and make it worse. Um, so
I mean, I will. It's difficult. It's an annoyance to test because I can't test it on any of my regular computers that I use. I have to take one of the ARM computers that we have in the office. We have one just for this purpose, but I don't use it every day, so I have to run it through Windows Update for like 3 hours,
yeah,
and then do this on it, and then I can try again to prove that it's still going to not catch everything, right?
right, right.
Uh, Now, I would be curious if it's smart enough that if you put really blatant stuff there, like my social security type into a notepad doc, my social security number is this, is blank, and you put it in there, whether it whether it can read the screen and say, oh, I think there's a social security number here. Uh, but um, which would be artificial intelligence, right? Um,
Which is so they claim that it is now AI driven redaction.
okay, well, uh, you know, I will look forward uh, to bust it again and uh, see if it, how smart it is. But look, there's a lot of scenarios where where it may not be 100% obvious what is on the screen. So uh, you know, it's it seems really difficult, if not impossible, to block every scenario. But we actually have something. The other question is why you need recall when we have something that does what recall does without taking screenshots, and that's your browser history.
True enough.
I mean, your browser 99% of the time, if there's something that I didn't remember and I want to go back to it, it's something in my browser history, right? It's a web page that I went to. And so it's not like I need to remember that I typed something in Word. I need to remember that I sent an email, which I have because you have your sent emails. So what are you really missing? It's usually something from your browser history. And so I
And
do
that
wonder
exists.
about, and that exists, and that's searchable. And I'm not sure how like great the search is in terms of looking into the content of the pages um, that you visited, but like to me that seems like a much more like we have it's a solution that already exists, it, and seems to work pretty well. And the other thing I noticed about recall when I was using it is it doesn't capture everything you do. It captures every few minutes or whatever. So it could very easily miss, if you were only doing something for a short time, it could very easily miss it,
Yeah, missed the thing
right?
that you actually wanted it to catch.
Whereas your browser history records everything. So every web page you've been to. So to me, it seems like your browser history is actually better than recall.
Yeah, it may not be. Browser history is not great at what you put into a form or something, which recall
Right.
could capture, but that's the chances of it capturing that are only as good as how frequently it's capturing data. So the chances of it missing that are still, you know, up there.
Yep. Uh, right. So I mean, the other thing that people really want, which I'm not sure if um, if it ever came out, is something that actually like records. Yes. So have you heard of Limitless and the Limitless pin?
Yes.
So like
I heard about it from
that's
you.
yes. So that's interesting, right? Because it goes into the real world and it records every real conversations that you had. Um, but so functionally, that's very use that could be very useful. Could be. Um, you, you had a conversation with your boss. They said something. You said something. Uh, now you have a definitive record. But um, the problem is that that's I think a horror for privacy. I don't think a lot of
Hmm.
people will consent. You have to ask someone to consent to being recorded. I don't know how many people would consent to that.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, I haven't gotten the pin. I don't know if the pin is actually out yet. I guess some people have gotten it. Um, I don't know how good it is at like it's supposed to know if someone has given consent and then only record them if they've given consent. So like that's part of the AI too. I guess doing some kind of a voice recognition. Like, are you on the consent list or not? Um, so I don't know. But point is, I could see that more than I could see recall because you have there's a reason there could be a valid reason for you trying to sort of record real life. But on
Yeah.
the other hand, it also is kind of horrifying because once you start piecing together your whole life like that, it maybe there's something good about not remembering everything perfectly. Um, what was that episode, The Entire History of You, I think it was called, on Black Mirror,
I was
where the guy
just
had everyone had eye recorders.
I was just looking that up. It's literally what I've started searching.
Yes. So the guy had the eye recorder, right? And everybody had eye recorders and they could play back everything for everyone. And uh, I mean, I don't know, when you record everything, you reduce life to, I don't know, just what has been recorded, and it's never as good as interesting as you remember. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about it today though because on the other hand, right, I was kind of sad today thinking about how we had a holiday this weekend, and my father would who we lost 5 years ago would normally be there, and made me think that like I don't know if I actually have any recordings of my father's voice, right? I don't know if I have any like video of him.
Sure.
Um, I, and I don't know if I actually have any. Come to think of it, my mom who's still with us. I don't know if I have any video of her. It just doesn't come up that we're like, yeah, let's get a video of you,
Yeah.
right? Now I don't know. Would I want to really sit around and watch a video of someone who passed? I don't know. I mean, maybe there's uh, if it were if I mean my kids will always have this show.
Right. I was just thinking that there's hundreds of
Yeah,
hours of recordings of you.
right, right. You will always have this show, and they'll have other YouTube videos that I've done and stuff. They might be like, "Well, this isn't exactly what I wanted to watch," but you know, it. So it's hard hard to say like what is how do you decide what's worth remembering? Do you remember everything? Is it and when you do, does it just kind of feel minimized by the fact that it's out there rather than in here? So
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't know, but recall is not the like they've identified a legit problem, but
Mm-hmm.
their solution is worse than the problem.
Yeah, agreed. It opens up way too many new problems to solve something that is, uh, it's
It's kind of already solved by your browser history,
yeah,
and I mean, yes, there's things that like online forums or whatever, but a lot of that is the stuff that you'd want to be private. So
right.
it's probably um, like there's the amount of times where you really need it, and then that just finds you a screenshot, right? I mean, maybe someday it'll be able to give you a natural language answer, but right now it just shows you a screenshot. It
Right.
would be somewhat more interesting if it was like, oh, hey, how many hours was I playing this game? And it was like, you bozo, instead of working, you were playing this game for 5 hours or whatever,
Ah,
right? When
like
I
the
was chatting with my wife, did I promise to take out the groceries? You did indeed, 52 times.
see,
You know,
that's where the meta glasses or the unexpected return of Google Glass, which happened this week. Um, that was shocking. Anyway, that's where something like that comes in handy.
yeah, yeah. So I could see that there may be a time when even people's like private personal business becomes commoditized this way,
Mm-hmm.
um, but this doesn't even do that.
Right. This just potentially exposes information when your computer inevitably gets accessed by somebody that shouldn't, and now gives them a new reason to want to. Hooray! No, none of it's good. In a completely unrelated, well, not entirely unrelated, I was thinking it might be fun to run some of these tests. How much would a Copilot PC cost? I ended up on Walmart, and they claim that the Surface laptop Copilot PC edition has a 60-inch screen, which seems unlikely to me. Anyway, not what we're doing. Seems like a really
Yep,
large laptop. Inconvenient to
yep.
try and put on your lap or carry around. Anyway, uh, yeah. So yeah, recalls coming for those who it might or might not affect. The one thing that they have done that I appreciate is they've made it an opt-in feature instead of an opt-out, which was the original plan. So thank goodness for that. But yeah, all around, not for me. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. Well, Avram, we just talked about how computers can be a little scarier than we want them to be because of uh, Windows recall, but apparently you can be your own worst enemy too.
Yes. So I love keyboard shortcuts very much. I I try to use a keyboard shortcut for anything and everything that exists. But sometimes you end up in a situation where you accidentally hit a key or a set of keys and it causes a lot of problems. So I put up this article, which I want to share with everyone, about 12 horrifying Windows self destruct keys that is on the homepage of Tom's Hardware. And it talks about these key combos, which will not, I mean, they will not literally destroy your computer, but they will mess up your day unless you know how to reverse them. So, some of the things here, the worst one, I think, the most annoying one, although it's harmless, is Windows Control Enter, which is Windows Navigator. So you hit Windows Control Enter, and guess what happens? Your computer starts reading everything off of the screen uh, and through your speaker. And that could be quite embarrassing if you were in an open office and you weren't on headphones, uh, or if you're in your house and you don't want your family to hear narrated whatever you have up on your screen. So, and it's annoying too. So, hitting the key again, Windows Control Enter turns it off. But you could also turn off the key itself by going to Settings, Accessibility, Narrator, and you could turn off the keyboard shortcut so this never happens to you. Um, Another one that you know does require you to do something a little bit strange, but maybe not if you're playing a game or you're getting really frustrated, you're pounding away on your keyboard and you hit the shift key 5 times. That's like the movie Candyman, where you say Candyman 5 times in the mirror and you get impaled. Here, what you get is an invitation to turn on sticky keys. Sticky keys is another accessibility feature that could be good for someone who really needs it, but is very problematic for people who don't need it. So what it does is you just hit, as it says on the screen, you just hit one key at a time instead of hitting a keyboard combo. So, for example, Control X, which is cut, you hit Control and then you hit X. So let's say you had sticky keys on, you accidentally hit the Control key by itself, and you're typing, and then you type the letter X uh, next. Oops! All of a sudden, cut will happen, right? Because it remembers whatever key, modifier key, Control Shift Alt or Windows key that you hit before, and combines it with the next key that you have. So that's what sticky keys is, and that's good for people who don't, have mobility issues with their hands, uh, because then they only need to poke with one finger. But it's not good for other people because you're going to end up with accidental keyboard combos. Again, you could turn off the keyboard shortcut for invoking sticky keys by going to accessibility keyboard sticky keys. Um, I was asking around things that my coworkers had found that kind of annoyed them, and this actually, again, every one of these is, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's something that you're supposed to have that is good for some people, but bad for many others or most people. Um, so if you hit Control Shift I or F12 when you're in a browser window, you get the console on the right of your screen, which here I'll hit it right now. You get you get the console on the right of your screen, which shows you all this code, which could show you JavaScript stuff or HTML or whatever. And if you're a developer and you want to see this kind of stuff, it's quite useful. But if you did this by accident, you just got a whole bunch of confusing code on your screen and you don't know why. So you can close it by hitting X or hitting the key F12 again, but that could totally, you know, confuse you. And I know if like someone who was not very computer literate had that happen to them, they might be thrown for a loop.
So,
Um,
out of curiosity, is that Chrome's default behavior? Because I know in Edge, the default behavior when you hit F12 is for it to come up and say, with a dialogue that says, if you're a developer, you might have meant to do this. If you're not, um, you probably don't want to be here.
that's an
And then
interesting question.
and then you
Definitely,
have to
control.
then you have to enable it as a feature going forward.
Let's see. Here I have. Okay. So in Edge, it asked you. Um, but Control Shift I, it doesn't ask you.
I didn't even know about that one. This is what I do, and I didn't know about that one.
See, I usually use Control Shift I, not F12.
Okay.
So I wasn't even really thinking that was what kind of secondary to me. But so I guess it depends on the browser. In Chrome, it never asks you. But um, another thing where they don't ask you is if you accidentally hit Control W and close a tab. Uh, now, you know, you if you hit Control W by accident, you lose what you're working on. Of course, there's your browser history to get it back, but there's a shortcut. So, oops, I closed this. But if I hit Control Shift T, I get back whatever I just left. So you can kind of save if you do hit Control W by accident, you could get your tab back. Um, Now here's one that I don't even know why it still exists. Scroll lock. Some keyboards still have scroll lock, and I have found very few programs that actually use it. The only one I could find is Excel. Have you found any other programs that use scroll lock?
Not not to my knowledge. And I'm looking. The
So,
keyboard I've got here has a dedicated key for it.
right. So it's a phenomenal waste. Like, it's definitely a good occasion to use something like sharp keys to remap that key for something to be something useful. So scroll lock fixes it so that when you are scrolling, instead of moving from cell to cell, the entire screen scrolls around you, which could be totally confusing and really not necessary. So, uh, if you are using Excel, uh, it does not happen in Google Sheets. But if you're using Excel, it will. You want to make sure that you make sure that you don't turn scroll lock on, because that's a weird user experience. Or if you do, hit it again and you'll solve the problem. Uh, another one that a lot of people have trouble figuring out. This happened. I was actually showing my mom this one today. Is if you hold down Control and you use your mouse wheel, if you go up, you can zoom in, and if you go down, if you hold down Control and go down, you can zoom out. So sometimes people do that accidentally, and they say, "How come I'm all zoomed in over here?" Well, that's uh, a feature that I actually like to use for zooming in and out, but you got to know, right? Uh, uh, another another one is the insert key. That's another keyboard key that doesn't really need to exist in 2025. Do you have an insert key on your keyboard?
Absolutely.
Do you ever use it?
Yes.
You do. Okay.
Yes. But infrequently. It's a for me it's a weird developer key because it's quicker than doing the other style of edit uh, in in Visual Studio.
So
There's two
generally
ways to do
speaking,
type over, and this is the easier way.
yeah. I mean, generally speaking, I find that most people just kind of expect that if they're going to delete something, they would they would delete the characters that they want to get rid of first, because you'd have to have the same exact number of characters to type over it, um, unless you're typing all the way to the end of the line. But I think for the most part, people want to, when they put the cursor in the middle of a word, they expect that when they hit a letter, it's going to insert that letter in the middle and push all the other letters over to the right. And what the insert key does is it puts you into overtype mode where you're typing over the letters. And that can be quite confusing for someone who doesn't know what they just hit. Um, Now, it's interesting because if you go back to like the DOS era, overtype was the default, and I think most people to expected overtype to be the behavior. But I don't know. At least since people started using Windows, it seems to me like the vast majority of people, the vast majority of the time, expect the behavior to be that you're going to hit a letter and it's going to just add that, append that letter to the middle of the text. Um, Another one that I caution people about is F11. Uh, might make your screen full screen, which is fine, but if you don't realize how to get out of it and you need those toolbars, that could really throw you for a loop. Um, I have a couple more on here, but I want to talk about um, one that didn't make the cut because two that didn't make the cut because they are um, mostly deprecated. Um, that is, you might find them on an older computer, but I don't know if you find them on a lot of current computers. So one is hitting Control Alt and an arrow key to flip your screen. I think they've eliminated that from most of the graphics drivers, but it was actually a very convenient shortcut for if you wanted to go into landscape, go from landscape to portrait mode on a monitor. But it looks like, from what I can tell, that's been that's been gotten rid of, and that was something that I think like Intel had it built into the graphics driver software, and I'm not sure if Nvidia had it built in, but it seems like it was causing enough confusion that they've gotten rid of it. But if you accidentally flip your screen, um, try hitting Control Alt and an arrow key to bring it back. Um, Another one that was the absolutely biggest self destruct key of all time was that it used to be the case that your web browser, the backspace key would take you back. And I think that's been eliminated in all the modern browsers because what would happen is if you were typing into an online form, such as you might have in a CMS like WordPress, and you went to hit backspace to erase something, but for some reason the cursor wasn't focused into in a text box, you'd hit backspace thinking you were going to delete a letter and ending up going back. And then if your work wasn't saved, you would have just lost the whole screen of work by hitting backspace. So I remember doing many stories about how terrible that was and how to actually turn it off. So um, that I think, unless you're on an old version of a browser, is has been thankfully eliminated. Uh, but there are a lot of things that are still hanging around. One that's really rare but very frustrating, I have on my keyboard at work. If you hit the FN key plus W, it swaps the arrow keys and the WASD keys so that the WASD keys become arrow keys. So you accidentally hit
Oof.
FN plus W, and you don't understand why when you're typing, letters aren't coming out and the cursor's just moving around. So um, apparently, a lot of gaming keyboards used to have that, but um, it seems that not many still do. My keyboard is an Akko 3098N, so I don't. I know that other brands had this. It wasn't just Akko, but I tried a bunch of different keyboards at work to see if they had this shortcut, and they didn't, which is good because it's a pretty horrible situation that you could end up in and not understand and think your keyboard is broken.
Yeah, that
So
one would throw
anyway,
me off for sure.
and right. So um, I do think that a lot of the worst shortcuts, like the backspace, have been eliminated over the years. But there's still a bunch that if you don't know that you hit like once you know that you hit a shortcut and how to undo it, its power is gone. But it's when you don't realize that something happened, something bad happened, like why is my computer talking to me, um, that you get that it really can throw you for a loop and feel like something is broken. So I encourage folks to check out my full list, which is on the homepage right now of tomshardware.com. Um, and if you have any other self-destruct keys, I'd be really curious to hear about them. It seems I'm sure there's some that I missed, but I tried asking a lot of people. Can you think of any that I missed that you've encountered?
No, not really in modern. The backspace was one of the ones that was in my head from the past because the number of times that bit me in the old internet
Right,
days. Oh my god.
right.
What a
And you could
stupid
know
idea.
and you could know about that, and you still would be hard to prevent
Yeah,
because
still
you
get
have
bitten
to
by it.
realize make sure that you had the key forward focus. Like it was such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Um,
If
I
you're
mean,
going to do
especially
it,
because there's
at least use a bizarre, not everyday hit key. Like, we hit the backspace all the time when typing. Don't make it that one.
right. I mean, there's lots of other ways to go back in your browser. So,
Yeah.
like, you don't. That was never necessary. Like, you could
Yeah.
go back by hitting Control back arrow, or is it all? Oh no,
Alt.
It's Alt back arrow. All by hitting Alt back arrow. So, or by hitting the thumb button on your mouse. So, like, there's other ways to
Yeah.
go back in one keystroke. Um, it wasn't necessary. It was never necessary to have it be backspace.
Yeah.
So,
It was always the wrong
you know,
choice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I suppose whoever thought of it at the very beginning of the internet probably was at a time when people weren't doing a lot of typing into online forums.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it was always a bad choice.
Yeah.
But
It was probably before uh the form tag existed, to be honest.
possibly, I mean, it certainly continued long after that. But it could
Way too
date.
long after that.
You know, it could date. Who knows? Like, could date further back. I'd have to go back to like. You have to go back to like the first GUI browser and see. You know.
Yeah.
But it. I think the point is knowledge is power, and when you know why things happen, then you can deal with them.
Right. You can make better decisions when you know everything around it.
Yep.
that that arrow key thing is wild. I am literally sitting here with a gaming laptop in front of me and I'm looking. I'm like, is it on here? No, I don't think so.
Right. I mean, the arrow key, but it was useful because if you plug in something like an external monitor and you want it in portrait mode,
Oh,
right?
I meant the gaming arrow keys.
Oh, the gaming arrow.
WASD.
Yes, the WASD one.
No, no, no. The changing from landscape to portrait, I'm totally on board with because until they changed the the interface for Windows 11 on how to do that, it was a huge pain in the butt.
You have to go a lot of menus deep to
Yeah,
get to it.
yeah.
So having
On
a
11,
shortcut.
On 11, it's real upfront on the display settings, but in 10, trying to dig it out in 10 was a pain.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I think it had its place. It had its place, but
Hmm.
yeah, the WASD key. I think they were thinking that this was something good for left-handed gamers.
I'll tell you, um, my brother is a right-handed gamer, and he uses those, not the arrows.
Right.
So it would be good for him too. It's just it's fascinating.
But doing it through a shortcut is could
Swi
could be a nightmare.
switch on the side, special button in the back, something like that. Totally, totally on board with that.
Yeah.
I've got oh, I have a keyboard in the office upstairs. It is a Logitech gaming keyboard, and it has a gaming mode switch on it. And I've never really messed with it because I have it because, like you, I like having keys, and I have my G keys on the left that I program for macros.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
like those keys on the Logitech.
that's the reason I have that keyboard. Not for the weird switch at the top. I wonder if that might be part of it. I've never experimented. Well, I know what I'm doing after the show.
Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, I'm curious if you do find another keyboard that has it. I mean, I was reading things the equivalent that maybe some older Razer keyboards may have had it, but the ones that I tried and the one I tried in our office didn't do it. So um, I don't know.
I
I
got a
think
couple of
I think who
I got a couple of those up there
yeah
too from our Razor days.
yeah, but it's yeah, definitely. I've done it to myself by accident a couple of times, and uh, that that's kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great. Especially for a writer. That wouldn't be great.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, four of your keys go away. That's
yeah,
and a vowel at that. It's not ideal.
yes,
Oh my goodness. Well, Avram, thank you as always. That was a fun dive into that. Um, I always knew that holding down or rapid tapping the shift key would bring up sticky keys, but didn't know what that was till now. So thank you for that. Uh, Legitimately had no idea what that feature did, other than annoy me. So, uh, interesting. Anyway, and as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. This isn't exactly what we're doing right now, but just want to point out they've got some great true wireless earbuds now for gaming on the go. We will be doing a review on these very soon. Not what we're doing, though. Let's instead talk about some of what we missed last week and what that has done to fears about the industry going forward, and some historical information as well. So, last week we got more information about the Switch 2 coming from Nintendo. Lots of information. The things that stood out the most to most gamers were not the games, but instead the prices. The cost of the Switch 2 is significantly higher than the cost of the Switch OG and the Switch OLED. The price has gone up quite a bit, and it doesn't have the OLED screen, which is a surprise. They also haven't fixed the thumbsticks. They haven't done the Hall effects controls, so the likelihood of stick drift is still there. So the price increase is concerning gamers a bit, but on top of the console, we're also looking at price increases on the games. Now, we haven't seen any real price changes on AAA titles in a very long time. You might remember, as the current generation that we're in now, which I think is the 9th gen of the consoles, was coming, there was a lot of talk about that we were going to see games go from 60 to 70 in the new generation. And in the first couple days, it seemed like maybe that was going to happen. And then really, it didn't. $59.99 does seem to be the standard price still for AAA titles. However, Nintendo has prices for their first party primary titles for the launch of this thing. And we're looking at an $80 price tag for Mario Kart World. So that is a $20 increase over the AAA multi-platform titles that we've known now for several generations. Interestingly, it is not the only price. Nintendo hasn't just moved all their prices up and we're going with 80 for the, primary titles, because Donkey Kong Bonanza is currently listed at $70, both of which, however, are more than the standard AAA title release. So, what does all this mean? All of these numbers came about before any serious talk or understanding of what possible fallout would be from the tariff stuff, which we still don't know what the fallout's going to be on that. So we're going to put that aside. These prices were determined before all of that. So, does this mean that we're about to start seeing an increase in standard game prices? I suspect so. Partially because it's been several generations of console since we've actually seen the 49 to 59 price increase. I think that came with the Xbox 360, so the 7th gen. So we've done 2 generations without a price increase, despite inflation, the size of games getting bigger, the scope of games, the development scale going up. So my suspicion is we're going to see more stuff in this range. Now, do I think everything's going to be in this range? No. I think there's going to be a lot of indie stuff. I think we're going to see some games scale back their development cycles and their scale to try and keep prices lower. I think we're actually going to start seeing tiers of game and game style. But that's my current suspicion, Avram. What do you think?
I think you're right. I mean, what I'm kind of curious about is how much. I'm trying to remember now. You are an experienced Atari collector. Um, how much? I'm trying to remember. I hate to tell folks that I actually was alive and bought Atari cartridges when they were new. Um, how how much were they in 2025 dollars? Because I seem to remember them being $20 or $30 for a game in the 80s.
Yeah.
And if you were to take that and translate it into today's dollars, that sounds like more than $60.
Yeah, indeed. And so that's been the thing that's been so interesting, right? So there's actually a bit of an inverse bell curve that has happened in the price of games and consoles. Um, Somebody put together a graphic I saw um, sometime early this week that compared all the Nintendo uh, consoles at their release price and their today release price, and it was this inverse bell curve. The price actually went down for several generations and has now leveled pretty much leveled back out with uh, where they started, the NES and the SNES. I think actually the SNES was the most expensive. Yeah, the most expensive console in value, and
Well,
this one, but this one's up there. But there was this dip that we got the pleasure of living through. Right, the the Switch came out at $299, which was not what any of us were expecting. Right, so I think this console has put itself back kind of where consoles theoretically are supposed to be. Some of this came. I'm gonna name check you, buddy. I know we've known each other a long time. Hip Hop Gamer, uh, when the Xbox One came out during E3, he made this big deal in the room of the price because it came with the Kinect. Ironically, uh, congratulations, Nintendo, you've brought back the Kinect. Doesn't matter. Anyway, um, he made a big deal, and that was why Sony changed their pricing structure that afternoon for the PS4. And that changed like the whole last generation pricing structure. And then that affected this generation pricing structure of consoles as well. And almost entirely, it was Hip Hop Gamer in the room at E3 that had that strange, bizarre impact. I'm watching the press conference because I wasn't there, and I heard his voice specifically. So we did have this dip where we had a $299 Switch. Um, what, $349 to $369 for the OLED? Like, just bizarre. We had the pleasure of living through that, but I think that bubble is over. I think we're past the effects of that particular Microsoft screw up and call out live, and I think I think the actual consoles are leveling out now. But if you look at the price of the games, they had the same, very similar uh, inverse bell curve where they went down for a while and they've come back up. So I think
well,
legitimately the price is leveling out. I think it is returning to about what it costs to produce a game.
so if you think about it, we've seen this with all electronics, not just consoles.
Mm-hmm.
The like today, you can buy well without tariffs, you could buy a legit, really good laptop for under $1,000,
Yeah.
right? You could buy a competent one sometimes for $700.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a flat panel monitor for $100, or you could buy a really decent gaming one for 200 or 250,
Yeah.
right?
The
Um,
the two that we use here in the studio that we bought during Collision, we got for $89 a piece.
so if you go back to the beginning of the PC era, or even the beginning of flat panel monitors, the prices were way higher, even in absolute dollars. So, like
Mm-hmm.
the IBM PC 5150, the first PC, and I think this is without the monitor or without storage, was $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then, I think once you kitted it out with a monitor, with the monochrome monitor and a tape drive or something, you were probably looking at like $3,000. So I remember my first PC was like around $2,000 with the monitor, and I remember monitors themselves being like, you want a 15-inch monitor, that's $500. You, um, so uh, TV sets also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you think about it, the cost of electronics has, in like dollars, is actually extremely low compared to what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go back into what a laptop cost in the 90s,
Yeah.
um, or even early 2000s. And it's not the like, it's not even like adjusted for the time. Like, the price has gone down a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
right? A
We've
lot.
got
So,
we've got mass production, we've got miniaturization, we've got offshoring that has all helped in that pricing. However, it doesn't account for all of it. There was
right,
I I know during my Radio Shack days, the last thing we wanted to do at the store was to sell a laptop because we lost money on it.
right, right. So,
What the business model
so
was on that, I don't know. I think they were hoping to sell a case with it or something to try and make
yes,
any money, but my crazy, crazy idea.
right, yeah. I mean, so there's been a lot of uh, downward price pressure. Now, with the release, with the uncertainty of the tariffs, with the release of the 5000 series 5090, 5080 cards, we're seeing some very, very high prices for
Mm-hmm.
gaming laptops right now, um, and gaming desktops right now. But if you if you cut off like the last month or so, um, the cost of computing is significantly less than it used to be. So it's not just games that haven't
Mm-hmm.
followed inflation.
Yeah,
It's all electronics that haven't followed inflation. The cost of electronics has gone down.
true.
Uh,
And technology has that ability. Whatever technology means at the time, right now it's electronics. But, you know, even swordsmithing.
Not true for your car though.
True,
Not true for
because
cars.
because generally cars kind of have fallen out of the category of technology and have more fallen into commodity. And at commodity, they get prices can get weird.
Because like relative to like what a car cost in the 90s, I think,
Yeah,
even if you leveled out the dollar, like if you evened out the inflated for adjusted for inflation, cars are much more expensive.
yeah,
So the cost of a car has gotten much more. The cost of a home has gotten much more,
mm-hmm.
uh, relative to inflation, but the cost of electronics
Continues
has
to drop.
gone significantly has gone significantly down.
And and then interestingly, there's the other side of it because the iPhone launched at $199, and now it's $10.99. You know, there's there are some things, there are some companies that I think know that they can treat things differently. But and I mean something, a TV from Sony isn't comically inexpensive, but TCL, Hisense, uh, those brands are all competing over price. So there is this thing of competing on price, and then some companies competing on quality or the perceived quality of their brand 20 years ago. Sony, uh, there's
Right.
um, So some stuff is continuing to get more expensive, like the iPhone, while other stuff, TCL TVs, for example, keep coming down. And then we talked about it. I've got that TV in my living room that I didn't pay for, and not because it was sent as a review unit, but that's the actual business model. So the electronic world is very strange, and I think that has affected gaming. But I also think that the reality is that gaming is different than designing and manufacturing a TCL TV. One, there's no slave labor for manufacturing, but it's it's a creative field, it's an entertainment field, it's a lot of people that all have unique hands on it. A TCL TV is a panel that they probably source from somebody. Actually, I think TCL does their own panels. They're a bad example. Hisense, they get a panel from somebody, they build a body around it, they put a little computer on it, they have a Roku version and a Google TV version, and they put it out into the wild versus like Diablo, which takes a team of
Yeah.
hundreds, years to produce, and test and make sure it's ready to go out. It's 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 different. The cost, I think, is way higher on it, and so I'm not surprised that it is breaking out of that mold of
Yeah.
constantly dropping.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
not.
I
I'm
think
not
it's more in
surprised.
line. I think it's more in line with movies, which you and I have talked about a lot over the last couple years. The price of tickets going up and up and up and up and up, because Hollywood productions are expensive. Well, according to Rob Lowe, nothing's filming in Hollywood anymore. But Hollywood style
I
productions.
mean, it is. I mean, listen. I went to see the Minecraft movie this weekend in the theater, of course,
Uh-huh.
for a family of four. Our ticket price was $84.
Wow.
So, and we did not see it in 3D or any of the or the like extra luxury theater
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Like
You just went to a theater.
that's what it. Yeah, we just went to the Regal Theater around here.
Oof.
That's what it costs to that's what it costs to buy tickets, and one of those was a child ticket too. Um,
Oof.
so yeah, I mean, if you think about it, a family of four to see a movie for an hour and a half is 80 something dollars. To buy a game that you probably get more than an hour and a half worth of entertainment out of, uh,
Mar-
it seems like the game is actually a better deal.
Mario Kart World is going to get you a lot more than an hour and a half of entertainment per person for the same $80.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's an
it's
interesting comparison.
right. So it actually is really, it actually is
A good
like
deal.
obviously the video game is a good deal by
Yeah.
comparison, right?
And this is going to start, this is going to bring us into conversations probably over the next couple of months about, you know, the possibly increasing value and or increasing price of things like uh, Game Pass or PS Plus, things like that, because we don't know if this will affect that. We know there's you know new stuff coming to Game Pass with the Activision acquisition, which is a fun pair of words to say. So that price might go up, but even then, you know, it's still less than a game a month. And as the cost of a game goes up, that value might get better. So there's going to be conversations in this realm on subscription services for gaming. So I think we're in a bit of a transition period for the gaming industry. I think Nintendo was the first ones to not feel afraid to kick through the door, but I suspect now that the hole is in the door, we're gonna see
Yeah,
other
it's
publishers go through it.
I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. But it actually does when you're talking about Game Pass. it does kind of remind me of what the same decision process that you have with a movie, right? Like you want to see the movie right away, you go to the movie theater and you pay a premium for that. But if you're willing to wait until it comes on streaming,
Hmm.
then actually it's significantly cheaper, right? So
True.
isn't this sort of a similar thing with games?
So similar, except that all Microsoft first party titles are on Game Pass day one.
Ah,
But that's Microsoft first party. that's not that's not third party stuff. So, you know, or even technically second party. I think Microsoft has ended up creating the concept of a second party. It's studios that they own that aren't Microsoft branded. I would kind of argue that Activision and ZeniMax, ZeniMax might be second party, but that's a whole different thing. Um, but all first party titles are on Game Pass day one. But yeah, if you're looking for something from EA, it may not be on their day one. But if you have EA Play, it might be, right? So, and that will lead us into our conversation a little later about the video streaming services and the cost of those and how many you can subscribe to. Same thing here. I think the gaming industry is about to undergo a shift, and I think Nintendo has opened that door. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus, it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. All right, we don't usually talk about hardware in this section, but we're going to talk a little bit about hardware. In particular, the cables that most people don't know that exist that run under the sea to power the internet in places that are not here in the US. They are giant fiber optic bundles that can carry a lot of data. They are the primary hubs between locations. And there are an increasing number of problems with it. Over the last couple of weeks, there have been some attacks, actual like physical attacks on undersea cables in Europe. They are currently believed to have been Russian attacks. There have been cases where entire Russian Navy fleets have been seen in and around the areas of these undersea cables. There is new technology that has been developed by China that is said to be for undersea mining, but any technology that's created has a good use and a bad use. The bad use in this case is that it could easily cut through these heavily fortified undersea cables, cutting sections of the world off from the internet. We have seen these cables break. We've seen these cables get attacked in the past, and it has created giant blackouts. Fortunately, the internet, by its very nature, is redundant, and so there are multiple ways to get to the same place on purpose. But a strategic coordinated attack could be a problem, and mistakes could be a problem. Right? There is the possibility of accidentally breaking these. Like there was a ship 7 or 8 years ago, I think, that was dragging something and caught in one of the cables and damaged it and knocked out internet to part of the world. So there's more and more focus on this part of the internet because they are to go back to a very old story that Avram brought us 15 years ago or something. There was the BlackBerry outage because everything routed through BlackBerry's servers and something went wrong at BlackBerry and everybody couldn't make phone calls or send emails or texts or any of that for several days, and that was kind of the end of BlackBerry. This is the internet's Achilles heel, and I don't know. Short of completely redesigning how the internet works, Avram, I don't know what could be done about this.
Not much. I mean, make more cables, have
Increase the
more
redundancy.
redundancy,
Yeah.
increase redundancy. How about satellite?
Yeah. We're getting to a point where satellite speeds are probably doable, certainly as like a secondary, a fallback system.
But on the other hand, we're going to really love these undersea cables even more if we end up with the what's it called, the Kepler effect. Um, like that's a bigger danger, um, where basically you can no longer have satellites because there's so much space junk.
Uh huh.
So we could end up in a situation where we can no longer have satellites because there's so much space junk.
Right. Somebody
Uh,
just announced. I think it was Japan that they've built a thing that they can start knocking them out of the sky, the dead ones.
well, that's good, but yeah, there's. It's not. I mean, there have been situations where certain countries blew up satellites, and then just the fragments or whatever are extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's too many fragments of space junk in the sky, then you couldn't maintain any satellites in orbit,
Right.
and then every satellite for every use basically would be would be done, and
Yeah.
GPS, everything we rely on satellites for, would be over on Earth.
Yeah.
So um,
Not great.
we're gonna really need the cables. I mean,
It's an
or
interesting pairing. It's an interesting pairing of problems, right? Because if if a couple of strategic satellites went sideways on us, they could damage a lot as well, right? So you've got
yeah,
these two weird technical Achilles heels, one for internet and one for everything else.
yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, technology. We assume it's just going to work, but there is a lot of things, physical things in the physical world that make it work,
Mm-hmm.
and it
And
can be disrupted.
a lot of it is a little bit more like rubber bands and chewing gum than I think people realize. Uh, like
Right.
just on barely on the verge of not working at any given moment. Because
Right. Well,
you could knock out an entire continent's internet by cutting a couple of undersea fiber optic cables. Yikes! Right? It's
yeah.
it's a little bit more MacGyvery and crossing our fingers and hoping it keeps working than most people really understand.
Yeah. I mean, so, or we could try to work toward world peace so we don't have people trying to destroy these cables. Um, but
True
I
enough.
guess that might be asking too much.
Well, we still got to worry about the aliens, so space
I mean,
not foreign.
bec- because they don't seem like something that you like. Everything you've described sounds like you have to be a state actor to do this. or you have to
Yeah.
be operating like it's not you're not going to get like a lone wolf terrorist going to dive under sea to cut the cable.
Only once that I'm aware of.
Right.
A
So
lone wolf did do it. It wasn't a terrorist attack, but it was an individual. It was the cargo ship that was dragging a thing and was able to damage the cable enough to knock out internet for a while. So it is possible that a non government actor could be responsible for a small one, but yeah, for anything coordinated, it would have to be governmental.
right. So you know, it's I mean everybody has I mean I guess we're not doing that these days, but everybody has a shared interest in the internet working.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it would be nice if everyone remembered that. But everyone also has a shared interest in not having a nuclear winter. Everyone also has a shared interest in having secure borders and international trade and things like that. So, you know, um, so I don't know, but if countries are acting in their own best interest, they would not try to destroy the internet.
Right.
Um, they could just
Agreed.
censor it and fill it full of propaganda, like it is now.
Indeed. Hooray, Baidu. Anyway, uh,
Anyway,
no worries. There's no way this show ever makes it to China. Anyway, yeah, the internet continuing to work, because especially when you take into consideration that cutting the underseas cable is not going to directly, indirectly, because there's stuff housed outside of the U.S., but doesn't directly affect us. So, if an actor is trying to affect us to come after us, that's not really the way to do it, right? Satellites might be, but the but the underseas cable isn't the way to come after us. But still, it is in our best interest to make sure the entire thing continues to work. NATO is who's in charge of protecting these things, I guess, which I didn't realize. Seems like a surprising organization. I guess we believe that only Russia would go after them. Which, in fairness, to the best of my knowledge, all the state actor attacks on these have been from Russia, so maybe it makes sense. But it it would be devastating. I guess my point is, it would be devastating less to us and more to them themselves, right? Because
yes,
they'll be severing
yes,
themselves. Nothing that happens is going to knock us off the internet because it's here, right? The all of the central processing hub is in our continent. So knocking out the underseas cables doesn't directly affect us. Yes, it means that servers and stuff that aren't here get cut off from us, but it would be more devastating to the actors who do it, I feel, than it would be,
right.
I don't know, to the global hegemon. But apparently it's something that is being actively watched right now, because just in the last couple of weeks there have been, I think, five attacks on these underseas cables. So we'll be keeping an eye on it, because it's not great, because a bunch of the stuff that you access on the internet is not here. There are several British companies that I interact with regularly just in prepping this show or producing the show. So, it would be interesting, but like you said, Avram, kind of it's in everybody's best interest not to mess with it. So hopefully nothing of any major scale will happen, but also hopefully more focus will be put on keeping them protected. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. So a lot of talk has happened over the last couple of weeks about the impacts of U.S. tariffs on a variety of things. But this week, an interesting report came out from the United Kingdom's Culture, Media, and Sports Committee, who generally believes that the cultural impact of British content being available to the world through streaming services is fantastic, but the business side of it has not been quite so good and has had a negative impact on the UK's ability to continue producing high-quality comedy, drama, things like that. Part of that is because a lot of the media landscape in the United Kingdom is government run through the BBC and things like that. There's private production who doesn't seem to be quite as affected by this, but then BBC productions have changed. We've started seeing stuff shift to Dave or Channel 4, things like that. So what they're thinking is that they want to put a levy, essentially a tax, a tariff of sorts on revenue generated from. Let me make sure I get this right. The report recommends a 5% levy on the UK subscriber revenue of streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and Apple TV Plus. The levy aims to support British television production and ensure the sustainability of culturally significant content. Things like Doctor Who, things like that are produced by the BBC and then, in this case, I think licensed to Disney is who is now doing Doctor Who in the US. So the question is, what does this do to prices? We talked earlier about the increase in prices to gaming, Nintendo increasing game prices, console prices. What kind of impact would this have? Because there's not really a tariff structure on streaming subscriptions because the subscription comes from is run in-house, and so basically they feel that the cost, the streaming services have taken viewers away from mainline television, and that has decreased the ability for cultural impact from UK production houses. And so they want to try and build a cultural fund. I don't remember what it's called. They always have weird names for their funds and stuff like that, to help maintain that industry. It's an interesting move. I don't know, because I feel like if a show is British and produced in the UK, the streaming rights that they receive should be helping pay for that content. That's me. What do you think, Avram?
So, what's interesting is, are you familiar, or is our audience familiar with the fact that British TV, you pay for £169 a year for a TV license?
For a TV license. Yep. And
so
if you have a television in the house that you only use for streaming, they will still come knocking on your door if you haven't paid for the license. which is
Really?
doesn't which does not apply, but they'll still come knocking on your door. I've been following a guy who's been getting knocks on the door once a week for months, even though he doesn't have an antenna or cable.
So could this be a response to that?
Possibly.
The 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 fact that people are not watching BBC and are signing up for Netflix, and so
Hmm.
therefore, where's the TV? If those folks don't have to pay for a TV license,
Right.
uh, according to Wikipedia, which is never wrong, the number of TV licenses has gone down in the last few years. The number of
I
people
believe it.
buying TV licenses has gone down. So, uh, so therefore, um, therefore, it seems to me that you that they want to do this because otherwise they would get no funding for the BBC.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
the the licensing regime won't won't take it.
And thinking about it,
So
what's what's happening is that people are signing up for Netflix. They're not. Let's go with all of them that are here: Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, and Apple TV Plus. So somebody signs up for all of them, and then they are watching general content, and not as much of it is produced in the UK as it is in the US and Canada and wherever. And so they're not even receiving the streaming residuals on that content from the same people. So even the streaming residuals per viewer in the UK is going to be down versus uh, the TV license. That's what it
right,
is.
right. Um, I mean, and you've seen some interesting things like Doctor Who is now a joint venture between Disney
Yeah.
and BBC. It's no longer just a BBC production, um, which is kind of a shame because like I would like to see actual British productions.
Right.
I like BBC stuff. Now, unfortunately, if you like to watch British shows, even just those from BBC, I mean, it seems BBC is not. I don't know. I think ITV. I don't know where ITV falls in this. I think ITV is
Private.
just a private company.
Yes.
Um, but like all the British shows are either made by BBC or ITV, pretty much, right? So, um,
Dave and Channel 4 are in there a lot for comedy.
I happen to really like British mysteries, so the I subscribe to BritBox,
Hmm.
which is a here in the U.S. to get some of that, but they don't get everything. Um,
Right.
they don't get everything, and they don't get it in a timely manner either. They get it like 6 months later
Right.
sometimes. Um, and then some things go to Acorn instead of going to BritBox, and some things go to Netflix. It's, I mean, I really wish the BBC would just allow. I mean, there are ways of doing this off the books, but I wish BBC would just allow people to pay outside the UK to pay a subscription
Yep.
to BBC to get BBC iPlayer directly. Like they could get some money that they could help with their revenue by doing
Yeah.
that,
But then
right?
then the thing they have to deal with is licensing because they've got to
I
deal with
mean,
licensing music for outside the UK, which is stuff that they haven't quite prepared themselves for. There are issues, but issues that they could resolve.
yeah, I don't know. It just seems to me like the things are very split when it comes to if you want to watch all British TV, you 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 don't like some things go to PBS, right?
Hmm.
something you need to subscribe to. If you really want like a wide variety of UK content, you have to subscribe to like 5 or 6 different services.
Yeah.
Some things end up on Peacock, like you wouldn't expect, but there are some British shows that go to Peacock.
And in fairness, NBC and the BBC have had a long-standing relationship. NBC had a history of converting BBC shows to American.
Some
You know,
things go to Hulu. Like it's
Prime Prime
there's
Video. If you want to watch 8 out of 10 cats, 8 out of 10 cats does countdown. I think even Would I Lie to You. I think all of that stuff is on Prime Video, but that's Channel 4.
right. So, right. I don't know. It's there's too many different places you have to turn
Yeah,
to get your fix.
yeah. And then
I
some stuff you
feel
can't. If you want to watch QI, sad story.
yeah. I mean, and then stuff comes to like if you look at BBC iPlayer, they have stuff that comes that either never goes to the US or goes years later or whatever. So I mean, it's frustrating. So I wish they would be more, I don't know, friendly about exporting their content.
Yeah,
But I think the
I
obvious
would
answer
pay.
is they're.
I would pay a monthly fee for BBC iPlayer just for QI.
I mean, it would be BBC iPlayer would probably be quite popular if you could subscribe to it in the US. But
Probably.
um, but anyway, so yeah, I mean it's obvious that they're trying to make up for the television licensing
Yeah.
issue. Uh, it's an interesting thing culturally. I don't know about other countries. Do other countries do something like a television license, or is it only the UK that does this?
There are others, from the to the best of my knowledge, mostly uh, former British colonies. Um, which, in fairness, is most of the world, depending on the era. But yeah, there are other places that I've heard of with a structure like this, but very few. I can't
Right.
name any of
Uh,
them offhand. So it's just the UK that I can name.
right. Yeah. So I don't know. 5%, considering all of the extra costs that uh, that we're all dealing with, 5% seems kind of small. People might not even notice the difference. So I mean, I don't know if they need to do this to maintain the BBC, then I guess they should do it. But then it's kind of lame if the BBC is receiving license is then like licensing their content out to Netflix or something like that, and you're
Right.
having to pay a fee on top of that.
Yeah. True. So
But
I asked Copilot just to try, and it says Ireland, which is a little unfair, technically not part of the UK. They have their own version of it. Japan, you pay the NHK. Germany, a broadcasting fee is mandatory for all households, regardless of TV ownership, which is interesting. France, a similar fee funds public broadcasters, though it has been restructured in recent years. And Pakistan, the TV license fee is collected through utility bills.
right, so not
Hopefully that's
not
correct, but
uncommon.
thank you, Copilot.
Oh, not uncommon. Um, oh well, you know. I know a lot. The company I work for, our home office is in the UK, and more than half of the employees are in the UK.
Mm,
Uh, and I don't know. I don't. We don't talk a lot about the television. We did talk about it once that they have to pay for their television license, but I think they're kind of used to that.
hmm
Um, you know,
It's an
yeah,
interesting structure for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's an interesting thing, and we'll see if it actually happens. It's just been proposed by what's it called, the Culture, Media, and Sports Committee, which doesn't have any uh, levying capabilities, but it's a recommendation. We have the whole document up over on the website if you're interested. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. If you didn't and would like to in the future, Sunday nights at 9, let's say 30 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us. Chat with us in the studio. Give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you can't join us live, that is okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows. F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. All the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. Social and everything's all there. There's a change coming to social. The announcement will be made over there on Facebook. We're going to consolidate. We're a little too spread out on our fan base, so we're going to try and fix that. So expect some notifications on Facebook in the coming weeks, just so we can interact with people easier. But yeah, lots of stuff coming. We've got new product reviews, we've got unboxings, how-tos, like we mentioned earlier, we've got Synapse Summit content coming, so expect all of that. And with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you back next time. Ciao.